I mean that 12 species working together as true equals can achieve things that even the ancient humans at their peak couldn't do. Different minds, different perspectives, different ways of solving problems. Evolution, Professor Sam Carter, realized not biological evolution, but social evolution. Cultural evolution. The final vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would be welcomed into the Federation as full partners. The ancient knowledge would remain sealed unless all species agreed it was needed. And the galaxy would begin a new experiment in cooperative civilization. As the assembly disbanded, Lisa Grant found herself standing with Captain Morrison and Dr. Turner, looking out at the stars through the station's great windows. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Jake asked. "I think," Lisa replied, "that we made the human choice. We chose to grow instead of simply becoming powerful." Dr. Turner nodded. "The ancient humans sacrificed everything so we could have this chance. They gave up godhood so we could learn to be better mortals." In the depths of space, the structure that had emerged from Earth's moon was slowly sinking back beneath the surface. The collective had delivered its message and made its offer. Now it would return to waiting and watching. But something had changed. For the first time in millions of years, it wasn't watching alone. 12 species would now watch over each other, learning and growing together. Ambassador Ryan Clark joined them at the window. "I just received a message from Earth. People are reporting strange dreams again. But this time, they're not dreams of ancient power or forgotten knowledge." "What are they dreaming about?" Lisa asked. Ryan smiled. "The future. New worlds to explore. Together, new friends to make, new problems to solve as a team." Lisa thought about the long journey that had brought them here. Humanity had started as a young species asking to join an ancient federation. They had discovered they were actually the most ancient species of all. And in the end, they had chosen to remain young. But it wasn't the youth of ignorance anymore. It was the youth of possibility, the youth of growth, the youth of always having something new to learn. In her mind, she could feel the faint presence of the collective, patient, and protective. The knowledge and power of the ancients remained available if it was ever truly needed. But for now, it would sleep while its children, all the children of the galaxy, learned to walk among the stars together. The great experiment had begun. Not the experiment of gods ruling mortals, but of mortals choosing to remain mortal, choosing to grow together rather than grow apart. And in the vast darkness between the stars, other ancient intelligences that had been sleeping for eons began to stir. The galaxy had shown that wisdom was possible. That power could be wielded with restraint. That cooperation could triumph over domination. The children had learned to fly. Now they would learn to soar. Dr. Emma Stone had been a temporal archaeologist for only 3 years, but she had never seen anything like the data flowing through her computers. The ancient human AI called the Collective was broadcasting information directly into Federation databases, and what it revealed was changing everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. She worked frantically to decode the temporal signatures while around her. The most important meeting in galactic history was taking place. President John Davis had arrived from Earth, along with humanity's top leaders. They sat across from the Federation Council in the largest chamber on Nexus Prime. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Some alien species wanted to welcome humanity back to their ancient role as galactic guardians. Others were terrified of what humans might become if they reclaimed their full power. "The question before us is simple," said Director Yilmoth, his tree-like form swaying with agitation. "Do we trust humanity with the knowledge of what they once were?" Admiral Korthix stood up, his massive frame intimidating, even in the vast chamber. "They destroyed the Forerunners. How can we trust them not to destroy us?" President Davis, a calm man with silver hair and steady eyes, remained seated. "Admiral, we didn't destroy the Forerunners. We were the forerunners, and we destroyed ourselves to give your species a chance to exist. So you claim, growled the Draknari Admiral. But how do we know you won't decide we've grown enough? How do we know you won't reset the galaxy again? Elder Nostak floated forward slowly. Because, Admiral, they had that power for millions of years and chose not to use it. Dr. Emma Stone looked up from her computer. I've been analyzing the temporal data from the collective. Admiral Korthix, you need to see this. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed the galaxy as it was 5 million years ago, where there should have been hundreds. Of intelligent species, there were only a few scattered civilizations. This is what the galaxy looked like before the reset protocol, Emma explained. The ancient humans were so advanced that their presence prevented other species from evolving. Life existed, but it never developed beyond primitive levels. The display changed, showing the galaxy after the ancient human civilization destroyed itself. Within 1 million years after the reset, dozens of new species achieved intelligence. Within 2 million years, hundreds more. The ancient humans didn't just sacrifice themselves, they made all of you possible. A murmur ran through the assembly. Species that had never known they owed their existence to humanity's sacrifice began to understand the magnitude of what had been done. Ambassador Ryan Clark, humanity's new representative to the Federation, stood up. We're not asking for your trust because of what we once were. We're asking for it because of what we've chosen to become. And what is that? Asked a Valtari representative. Partners, President Davis said simply. We've spent 6 months learning to work with you as equals. We've proven that we can set aside our own interests for the good of others. We've shown that we value cooperation over domination. Captain Jake Morrison, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. The collective has offered to return our ancient knowledge and technology. All of it, the power to reshape worlds, to travel through time, to create or destroy life itself. The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. And Admiral Korthix prompted. And we're going to say no, Jake continued. Shocked gasps echoed through the chamber. Even some humans looked surprised. Lisa Grant stood up from her seat. Over the past months, she had become the bridge between human and Federation scientists. We've learned something important during our time here. Power isn't about what you can do. It's about what you choose not to do. Professor Sam Carter nodded in agreement. Our ancient ancestors had unlimited power, and it made them miserable. They were so advanced that they couldn't relate to anyone else. We don't want that. Dr. Alex Turner activated his own display, showing energy readings from Earth's moon. The collective has made us an offer. We can take back all the ancient knowledge. Gradually, over thousands of years. We can grow into it slowly, learning wisdom as we gain power. But that's not what we want either, President Davis said firmly. We want to stay human. We want to remain curious and imperfect, and sometimes foolish. We want to learn alongside. You, not above you. Elder Nostok's ancient voice filled the chamber. This is unprecedented. A species choosing to remain limited when they could become gods. It's not unprecedented, the collective's voice spoke directly into everyone's minds. It's exactly what the first ones hoped would happen. A shimmering holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It looked human, but somehow more. Its eyes held the wisdom of ages. I am the echo of who you once were, the figure said. For millions of years, I have watched you grow. I have seen you make mistakes and learn from them. I have seen you choose compassion over conquest, cooperation over control. The figure smiled, and in that smile was infinite sadness and infinite joy. You have become what we always dreamed we could be. Not gods ruling over mortals, but mortals growing alongside mortals. Captain Nina Brooks, who had been commanding Earth's defensive fleet, asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens? To you? To the ancient technology? To all that knowledge? It remains available, the collective replied. Hidden but accessible. If the galaxy ever faces a threat that requires the old power, it will be there. But only if all species agree it is necessary. All species? Admiral Corthix asked. Yes, the ancient humans learned that no single species should make decisions. For the galaxy. From now on, such choices must be made together. President Davis looked around the chamber at the representatives of 12 different species. We propose something new. A true partnership. Humans will share what we've learned about cooperation and growth. You will teach us about your cultures and ways of thinking. Together, we'll face whatever comes. Director Yilmuth's branch-like arms swayed thoughtfully. And if humanity changes its mind? If future generations decide they want the old power? Lisa Grant smiled. Then you'll stop us. That's what partners do. They keep each other honest. The debate continued for hours. Some species remained suspicious. Others were eager to begin this new era of cooperation. But gradually, consensus began to emerge. Dr. Emma Stone continued analyzing the temporal data, but now she was looking forward instead of backward. The patterns she saw made her smile. Multiple species developing together, learning from each other, growing stronger as a group than any of them could alone. I'm seeing something interesting, she announced during a break in the discussions. The temporal patterns suggest that this kind of multi-species cooperation creates possibilities that didn't exist before. We're not just choosing to remain equal, we're choosing to become something entirely new. Elder Nostok floated over to examine her data. What do you mean? Dr. Alex Turner had never expected to leave his quiet laboratory on Earth. He was a physicist who studied time and space, not someone who traveled to alien worlds. But when the government called and told him he needed to get to Nexus Prime immediately, he didn't argue. Now he stood in a Federation research facility, staring at data that made his head hurt. Around him, the galaxy's best scientists worked frantically to understand what was happening. The energy readings from Earth's moon are getting stronger, reported Captain Nina Brooks, commander of Earth's newest military ship. She had arrived just hours after the mysterious transmission. Whatever's in there is waking up. Dr. Turner studied the temporal readings on his screen. This doesn't make sense. The energy signatures suggest technology that can manipulate time itself. Time travel? Asked General Beth Collins, Earth's military representative. She was a tough woman who had seen many battles, but even she looked nervous. Not travel, Doctor. Turner corrected. More like ... storage. As if someone took pieces of the past and hid them away, waiting for the right moment to bring them back. Lisa Grant walked over from where she had been examining more artifact data. Alex, look at this. She showed him a tablet with archaeological findings. We've now confirmed human presence on over 300 worlds. But here's the strange part. They all show the same pattern. What pattern? Humans arrive on a world where primitive life is just starting to develop intelligence. They stay for a few centuries, teaching and guiding. Then they leave just before that species becomes truly advanced. Every single time, Dr. Turner frowned at the data. That would take incredible planning and patience. You'd have to know exactly when each species would evolve, centuries in advance. Or, said Professor Sam Carter as he joined the group, you'd have to be able to see the future. General Collins crossed her arms. Are we seriously talking about humans having magical powers? Not magic, Dr. Turner said slowly. But if ancient humans had technology advanced enough to manipulate time, they could see probable futures. They could plan for events thousands of years ahead. Elder Nostoc floated over to their discussion. The ancient alien had been studying human mythology with Sam Carter. Dr. Turner, may I ask you something? Of course. In your scientific opinion, what would happen to a species that became too powerful too quickly? Dr. Turner thought about it. They'd probably destroy themselves, or become so advanced that they'd lose touch with other forms of life. Yes, Elder Nostoc agreed. And what if they were wise enough to realize this? They'd find a way to step back, to limit themselves, even if it meant giving up everything they had achieved. Dr. Turner felt a chill. You're talking about deliberate technological regression, a species choosing to become primitive again. Is it possible? Sam asked. Theoretically, yes. If you had advanced enough technology, you could erase memories, hide knowledge, even modify genetics to make a species forget its past. Captain Nina Brooks had been listening quietly, but now she spoke up. The transmission from the moon mentioned children learning to fly. What if that's what happened? What if ancient humans created modern humans as a reset button? Lisa shook her head. But why? Why give up all that power and knowledge? Elder Nostoc's ancient voice was sad. Because true wisdom is knowing when to let go. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Director Yulnoth's voice echoed through the speakers. All personnel to the main observatory. We have a situation. They rushed to the observatory, where a massive holographic display showed space around Earth. The moon was glowing with energy that was visible even from millions of miles away. It started 5 minutes ago, Director Yilmoth explained. The energy output from your moon has increased by a factor of 10,000. On the display, they could see ships from dozens of Federation worlds gathering near Earth. Some were scientific vessels, but others were clearly military. Admiral Korthix appeared on a communication screen. Human ships, you will withdraw from the area immediately. We cannot allow whatever is happening to spread. We can't just abandon Earth. Captain Morrison protested from his position on the Terra Nova. You may not have a choice. Admiral Korthix replied grimly. Dr. Turner watched the energy readings spike higher and higher. This is incredible. The power levels are off any scale I've ever seen. Suddenly, the moon's glow intensified beyond anything they had witnessed. For a moment, it was brighter than the sun. Then, slowly, the light began to take shape. My God, whispered General Collins. Rising from the moon's surface was a structure. It was enormous, easily the size of a small city. But it wasn't built like any human architecture they knew. It was graceful and flowing, like something grown rather than constructed. Unknown structure. Identify yourself, came Admiral Korthix's voice over the communication system. The response came immediately, but not through any communication device. The voice spoke directly into everyone's mind, regardless of species or language. I am the collective. I am the memory keeper. I am what remains of what we once were. Lisa felt her knees go weak. The voice in her head was familiar, like hearing. Her own thoughts spoken by someone else. Who are you? Admiral Korthix demanded. I am the guardian of the first ones. I am their promise to the galaxy. I am their gift to those who would come after. Dr. Turner stepped forward. Are you an artificial intelligence? I am what they became when they chose to become what you are now. The cryptic answer frustrated everyone, but Elder Nostoc seemed to understand. You are the memory of ancient humanity, the part they chose to preserve while they forgot. Yes, for 4.7 million years I have watched. I have waited. I have guided from the shadows while the children grew. Children? General Collins asked. Modern humans. the young versions of the first ones, created from their own genetic pattern, but freed from the burden of their knowledge. Lisa found her voice. Why? Why did they do this? The ancient intelligence paused before answering. When it spoke again, there was great sadness in its mental voice, because they had become gods, and gods cannot live among mortals without destroying them. Images began flowing into their minds. They saw ancient humans with technology beyond imagination, ships that could cross the galaxy in moments, weapons that could destroy stars, the power to create life or erase it with a thought. They tried to guide younger species, the collective continued, but their very presence changed everything. Species either worshipped them or feared them. None could develop naturally. More images came. Ancient humans discovering that their existence prevented other life from reaching its potential. The agonizing decision to give up everything they had achieved. So they created the reset protocol. They would scatter themselves across space and time. Their memories would be erased. Their technology would be hidden. They would become young, again allowed to grow naturally alongside the species they had accidentally suppressed. But some of them stayed awake, Sam realized, as guardians. Yes, a few volunteered to become like me, to watch over the children and guide them subtly toward wisdom. Dr. Turner's scientific mind was reeling. The Forerunners, the civilization that was destroyed 4.7 million years ago. That was the original human empire, wasn't it? Yes, they destroyed their own civilization to give the galaxy a chance to grow without them. Admiral Korthik's voice was shaky now. And now they're returning? No, the collective said gently. Now they are ready to remember. The children have learned to fly between the stars. They have proven they can work with other species rather than dominate them. The reset protocol is complete. Lisa felt something stirring in her mind. Memories that weren't her own, but somehow were. Ancient knowledge flowing back like water, filling an empty cup. She wasn't the only one. Around the room, other humans were experiencing the same thing. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system, filled with wonder and terror. I remember, he whispered. I remember all of it. The memories were overwhelming. Billions of years of history. Technology that could reshape reality. The terrible loneliness of being the only truly advanced species in the galaxy. And the love. The incredible love that had driven them to sacrifice everything for species they had never met. What happens now? General Collins asked, though her voice suggested she already knew. Now, the collective replied, humanity chooses. You can reclaim your ancient power and knowledge, or you can remain as you are, young and growing alongside your galactic neighbors. And if we choose power, Dr. Turner asked, then the cycle begins again. You become the guardians, and other species become the children. Lisa looked around at her human colleagues. In their eyes, she saw the weight of impossible decision. To remain as they were meant, staying small and limited. But, to reclaim their heritage meant accepting responsibility for the entire galaxy. We need time to think, General Collins said. Yes, the collective agreed, but not too much time. The galaxy is watching. And some among them fear what you might become. As if summoned by those words, Admiral Korthik's image appeared again. On the screen. But now his red eyes held not just suspicion, but terror. Humans, he said slowly, we need to talk. The Federation Archaeological Commission was in chaos. Director Yulmuth, a being that looked like a walking tree with too many branches, stood before a room full of scientists from 12 different species. Everyone was talking at once. Order! Order! Yulmuth's voice boomed through the chamber. We must discuss this calmly. Dr. Lisa Grant sat in the human section with Professor Sam Carter, who had been brought from Earth to help understand the growing crisis. Around them, Federation scientists argued in dozens of languages. "The evidence is clear," Dr. Vorthen announced. As he stood up, "Human artifacts have now been found on 147 worlds. The dating is consistent. All specimens are between 2 and 5 million years old." A Draknari scientist with purple scales and angry red eyes slammed, his fist on his desk. "This proves humans are liars. They claim to be a young species, but they have been in our galaxy for millions of years." "Admiral Korthix speaks truth," said another alien. "Why do humans hide their history from us?" Lisa stood up, her heart pounding. "We're not hiding anything. We don't know about these artifacts either." "Impossible," growled Admiral Korthix. "Species do not forget millions of years of history." Professor Sam Carter rose slowly. He was an old man with gray hair and kind eyes, but today he looked very tired. "Actually, they do. May I share what we've discovered?" The room grew quiet. Sam activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots marking worlds where human artifacts had been found. "Each red dot represents a world where we've found human presence," Sam said. "But notice the pattern. Humans didn't conquer these worlds. They didn't build cities or stay for long periods. The evidence suggests they visited each world for maybe a few hundred years, then left." "Left to where?" asked Yomoth. "We don't know, but we found something else interesting." Sam touched a control, and the display changed. "These are the dates when intelligent life first appeared on each of these worlds." New information appeared next to each red dot. Lisa gasped as she saw the pattern. "Human presence always ended just before native intelligence evolved," Sam continued. "It's as if they were waiting for each species to develop, and they left to avoid interfering." The room was completely silent now. The implications were staggering. Dr. Helen Price, a human geneticist who had been studying the ancient DNA samples, stood up next. "There's more. I've analyzed genetic material from 53 different worlds. The ancient human DNA is identical to modern human DNA. Not similar, identical." "What does that mean?" asked Kellanara. "It means ancient humans were exactly the same as modern humans. No evolution, no change, as if they stopped evolving millions of years ago." Admiral Korthix says red eyes blazed. "Or as if modern humans are. Artificial, created by the ancients." "That's ridiculous," Lisa protested, but her voice shook. The evidence was becoming harder and harder to ignore. Director Yulmuth raised one of his branch-like arms. "There is more we must discuss. Show them the weapon signatures." A new scientist stepped forward. This one was from the Zephyrian Empire and looked like a giant jellyfish floating in a mechanical suit. "We have analyzed the Great Extinction Event. That destroyed the Forerunner civilization 4.7 million years ago." Lisa had heard of the Forerunners. They were the mysterious race that had once ruled the galaxy before suddenly disappearing. No one knew what had happened to them. "The radiation signatures from the Forerunner worlds match weapons technology used by modern humans," the Zephyrian continued. "Nuclear fusion weapons. Exactly the same design as current human military equipment." The accusations hit Lisa like physical blows. Around the room, alien faces showed fear, anger, and suspicion. "You're saying humans destroyed the Forerunners?" Lisa asked, her voice barely a whisper. "The evidence suggests a massive war," the Zephyrian replied. "The Forerunner worlds show signs of bombardment from space. The weapon signatures are unmistakably human." Admiral Korthix stood up, his massive frame intimidating even at a distance. "This proves humans are a warrior species. They destroyed the galaxy's greatest civilization, then hid the evidence." "We don't remember any of this," Lisa shouted. "How can we be responsible for something we don't remember?" "Memory can be erased," said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see Elder Nostoc, the oldest being in the Federation. He was a Zephyrian like the weapons expert, but ancient beyond measure. Elder Nostoc, Director Yilmeth said respectfully, you have been silent through these proceedings. What wisdom can you share? The ancient being floated forward slowly. When he spoke, his voice was like wind through old trees. I am 12,000 years old. I have lived longer than any being in this room, and I remember stories that others have forgotten. The room held its breath. My people keep oral traditions, going back 50,000 years. In our oldest stories, we speak of the first ones, the teachers, the ones who came before all others. What do the stories say? Sam asked gently. They say the first ones were powerful beyond imagination. They could travel between stars as easily as walking between rooms. They could create life and destroy worlds, but they were also wise and kind. Elder Nostoc paused, as if deciding whether to continue. The stories say the first ones faced a terrible choice. They had become so powerful that their very presence prevented other life from growing. So they made the greatest sacrifice any species has ever made. What sacrifice? Lisa whispered. They gave up their power. They gave up their knowledge. They scattered themselves across time and space, choosing to forget so that others could remember. Choosing to become weak so that others could become strong. The silence in the room was deafening. Lisa felt tears running down her face without knowing why. But that's just a story, Admiral Korthix said, though his voice had lost its anger. Is it? Elder Nostoc replied. Or is it the only explanation that fits all the evidence? Dr. Vorthen clicked his claws nervously. If this is true, then modern humans are, what? The descendants of these first ones? Or the first ones themselves? Elder Nostoc said quietly. Reset, reborn, given a chance to grow up again without the burden of their ancient power. Lisa thought about her dreams. All her life, she had dreamed of stars and long journeys. Dreams of making difficult choices and saying goodbye to people she loved. Dreams that felt more like memories. There's something else, she said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. Captain Morrison told me that Earth's moon has been giving off strange energy readings since we left the solar system. What kind of readings? Director Yilmeth asked. Unknown. But they started the day we achieved faster-than-light travel. As if something was activated by our presence in space. Professor Carter nodded slowly. And there have been reports of strange dreams among human populations. Dreams about ancient journeys and forgotten knowledge. The awakening begins, Elder. Nostoc said softly. The first ones sleep, but they do not sleep forever. Admiral Korthix looked around the room with growing alarm. If humans are the first ones returning, what does that mean for the rest of us? It means, said a new voice from the chamber entrance, that everything is about to change. Everyone turned to see Captain Jake Morrison standing in the doorway. His face was pale and his uniform was disheveled, as if he had been running. Captain Morrison, Director Yilmeth said, you were not invited to this meeting. I know, Jake replied, but I had to come. Something's happening on Earth. Something big. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Jake walked into the center of the room. 3 hours ago, our long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures coming from Earth's moon. And then ... quotes. He paused, swallowing hard. Then we received a transmission from something that's been hiding inside the moon for millions of years. What kind of transmission? Sam asked. Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at him. A message, in perfect human language. It said, the children have learned to fly. It is time for them to remember who they really are. The room erupted in chaos again. But this time, Lisa barely heard it. Deep in her mind, something was stirring. Something old and vast and filled with both great sadness and great hope. She was starting to remember, and the memories were beautiful and terrible at the same time. 6 months had passed since the Terra Nova first arrived at Nexus Prime. Dr. Lisa Grant now spent most of her time on archaeological dig sites across the galaxy, working with Federation scientists to study ancient civilizations. She had learned to use alien tools and speak 3 different alien languages. The work was fascinating, but lately something had been bothering her. Too many things seemed familiar when they should have been completely strange. Today, she was on Kira 7, a dead planet that had once been covered with cities. Now it was just dust and broken stone. Dr. Vorthen had insisted she come here to see something he called impossible. Dr. Grant, you need to see this, called Kellanara, a young graduate student from the Veltari species. She looked like a tall, thin human with silver skin and large black eyes. Lisa walked over to where Kellanara was carefully brushing dirt away from something in the ground. As the dirt cleared, Lisa saw a tool handle made of metal and bone. It was clearly designed for a hand with 5 fingers. How old is this layer? Lisa asked, though she was afraid of the answer. 2.3 million years, Dr. Vorthen said as he approached. His reptilian face showed no emotion, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Carbon dating confirmed it yesterday. Lisa stared at the tool. It looked exactly like something a human blacksmith might have made. The grip was the right size for human hands. The balance was perfect for human arms. This proves nothing, she said, but her voice sounded weak even to herself. Lots of species could have 5 fingers. Perhaps, said Dr. Vorthen, but look at this. He led her to another pit where his team was working. In the dirt, they had uncovered what looked like a knife, but this knife was made from a metal that Lisa recognized immediately. That's titanium steel, she said. That's a human alloy. We only invented it 60 years ago. Yes, Dr. Vorthen agreed. Very interesting, is it not? Lisa's hands were shaking as she took pictures of the knife. She sent the images immediately to Professor Sam Carter, back on Earth. Sam was the best human historian she knew. If anyone could explain this, it would be him. While she waited for Sam's reply, Lisa tried to focus on her work. But everywhere she looked, she saw things that seemed human. The way the stones were cut, the patterns on broken pottery. Even the layout of the ruined buildings reminded her of ancient human cities. That evening, Sam's message arrived. His face on the screen looked worried and confused. Lisa, I've looked at your pictures, he said. That knife design ... I've seen it before. In cave paintings in France. Paintings that are supposed to be 30,000 years old. But the knife in your picture is exactly the same design. Lisa felt cold despite the warm air in her tent. Sam? That's impossible. I know, but there's more. I've been going through human mythology since you sent me those star charts last month. You know, the ones showing star positions from that dig on Proxima 3? Lisa remembered. The star charts had been carved into stone tablets, showing the positions of stars and planets. But when the Federation astronomers checked them, they showed star positions from over 4 million years ago. What did you find? Lisa asked. Sam's image flickered as the long-distance signal wavered. Our oldest stories, Lisa, the ones every human culture has, stories about the time before time, about the long journey, about the watchers in the sky. Those are just myths, Sam. Are they? Because according to these stories, humans came from the stars. They talk about a great journey across the void, about leaving something behind so that it could grow without interference. Lisa was about to reply when Kellanara burst into her tent. The young alien was clearly excited about something. Dr. Grant, you have to come see this. We found something on my homeworld. Lisa followed Kalanara to the communication center. On the big screen was a live feed from Veltar Prime, Kalanara's home planet. The image showed the inside of a cave deep underground. My brother is an archaeologist too, Kalanara explained. He was exploring old caves when he found these paintings. The cave walls were covered with drawings. They showed tall figures with 2 arms and 2 legs. The figures had 5 fingers on each hand and were clearly intelligent. They were teaching. Smaller figures that looked exactly like modern Veltari. When were these painted? Lisa asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. 7 million years ago, Kalanara said quietly. Long before my species developed intelligence. But look at the star patterns they painted on the ceiling. Lisa looked up at the painted ceiling of the cave. Stars and planets were arranged in patterns that looked familiar. She had seen the same patterns in human navigation charts. Kalanara. Lisa said slowly, have you ever heard human stories? Our old myths? Some why? Because we have stories about teachers who came from the sky. They taught us language and numbers and how to plant crops. Then they left and told us to grow on our own. Kalanara's large black eyes grew even larger. My people have the same stories. We call them the first ones. They came from the stars and taught us everything. Then they disappeared. Lisa felt like the ground was moving under her feet. She looked at the cave paintings again. The tall figures were clearly human, but that was impossible. 7 million years ago, humans were supposed to be primitive apes on Earth. Over the next few weeks, reports came in from dig sites across the galaxy. Human genetic material in soil samples. Tools designed for human hands. Star charts that matched human navigation systems. And everywhere, the same story. Mysterious teachers who came from the sky taught local species important knowledge. Then disappeared. Dr. Vorthen collected all the evidence in his laboratory. When Lisa visited there, she was shocked by what she saw. Dozens of human artifacts from dozens of worlds. All of them millions of years old. Dr. Grant, he said, as she stared at a human skeleton that was supposedly 4 million years old. I have been studying ancient civilizations for 3 centuries. I have never seen anything like this. What do you mean? Usually, when we find evidence of an ancient species, we find everything. Their homes, their art, their garbage, their graves. We can trace how they lived and how they died. Lisa nodded. That made sense. But with these human artifacts, we find only certain things. Tools for teaching, star charts for navigation, genetic samples that suggest temporary presence. It is as if your ancestors came to these worlds not to live, but to visit, to help, and they left. That's impossible, Lisa said, but the words sounded hollow. Dr. Vorthen clicked his claws together thoughtfully. Is it? What if your species is much older than you think? What if ancient humans traveled the galaxy long ago? Then where did they go? Why don't we remember? Those, said Dr. Vorthen, are very good questions. That night, Lisa called Captain Morrison. He was still on Nexus Prime, still waiting for the Federation Council to decide about human membership. Jake, we have a problem, she said. What kind? Of problem? Lisa took a deep breath. The kind where everything we think we know about human history might be completely wrong. She told him about the artifacts, the genetic samples, the cave paintings. As she spoke, she watched Jake's face grow, more and more serious. How many worlds? He asked when she finished. So far? 23. And Dr. Vorthen thinks there might be hundreds more. Jake was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Lisa, there's something I need to tell you. The Federation Council has been asking me strange questions about human memory, about our historical records, about why we don't remember anything from before 10,000 years ago. What did you tell them? The truth, that human civilization is young, and we only started keeping good records a few thousand years ago. Lisa felt a chill. Jake, what if that's not the truth? What if we're not young at all? Then we have a much bigger problem than getting into the Federation, Jake said grimly. After the call ended, Lisa sat in her tent staring at pictures of human artifacts that were millions of years old. Somewhere in the galaxy, ancient humans had traveled from world to world. They had taught other species. They had left behind traces of their presence, but they had also left behind a mystery that was growing larger every day. Who were the ancient humans? Where had they gone? And most importantly, why had they hidden the truth from their own descendants? Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova and watched the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was the biggest thing he had ever seen in space. It was like a small moon made of metal and glass, spinning slowly against the stars. First time seeing it never gets old, said Dr. Lisa Grant as she walked up beside him. She was the ship's expert on alien cultures and old things. Her job was to help humans understand the strange new world they were about to enter. Jake nodded. Hard to believe we're really here. 20 years ago, we didn't even know aliens existed. Now we're asking to join their club. The Terra Nova was humanity's first ship that could travel faster than light. It had taken them 6 months to reach this place after the aliens had sent their invitation. The message had been simple. Come to Nexus Prime. We want to meet you. Captain, we're getting a signal from the station, said Lieutenant Pete Walsh from his post. They're sending a ship to guide us in. On the screen, a sleek silver ship appeared. It was beautiful and moved like a fish swimming through water. Jake had never seen anything like it. Follow their lead, Jake ordered. And remember, everyone, we're representing all of humanity today. Let's not mess this up. The Terra Nova followed the alien ship through a series of rings and barriers. Each one scanned them with beams of light. Finally, they docked at a port that was just the right size for their ship. Someone had clearly studied human technology before they arrived. Jake, Dr. Grant, and 4 other crew members put on their best uniforms and walked through the airlock. The air on the other side was breathable, but it smelled different. Like flowers mixed with something metallic, 3 aliens waited for them in the docking bay. The tall one in the middle stepped forward. It looked almost human, but its skin was blue, and it had 4 arms. When it spoke, the words came from a small device on its chest. Welcome to Nexus Prime. I am Ambassador Zeftal of the Kelhari. We have waited a long time to meet your species. Jake stepped forward and tried to remember the greeting they had practiced. Thank you for inviting us. I am Captain Jake Morrison, representing the people of Earth. Zeftal's large eyes seemed to study Jake's face carefully. You look ... familiar, but that cannot be. We have never met your kind before. The alien shook its head. Please, come. The council is eager to meet you. They walked through corridors that were clearly built for many different types of beings. Some parts had low ceilings. Others were very tall. The walls showed pictures of different worlds and creatures Jake had never imagined. How many species are in your federation? Dr. Grant asked as they walked. 12, replied Zeftal. We have kept peace for over 50,000 years. Your species would be the 13th, if the council agrees. They entered a huge round room, with seats arranged in a circle. Beings of all shapes and sizes sat in those seats. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees. One looked like a ball of light floating in a glass container. The human delegation, announced Zeftal to the room. Jake felt hundreds of eyes watching him and his team. He tried to stand straight and look confident, but inside he was nervous. These beings had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, while humans were still learning to make fire. Got an alien that looked like a walking lizard with two. Many teeth stood up. I am Dr. Vorthen of the Thraxian Empire. I study old civilizations and lost cultures. Your arrival raises many questions. What kind of questions? Jake asked. Dr. Vorthen clicked his claws together. Your tools, your ships, your language patterns. They remind me of things I have found on dead worlds, very old things. Dr. Grant stepped forward. That's impossible. Our species only developed space travel 50 years ago. We've never left our solar system before now. Perhaps, said Dr. Vorthen, but I have been studying ancient ruins for 300 years. I know what I have seen. Another alien spoke up. This one was covered in fur and had 6 legs. Dr. Vorthen sees mysteries everywhere. Pay him no mind. What matters is whether humans can live in peace with others. For the next several hours, the council asked Jake and his team many questions. They wanted to know about human history, culture, and technology. Some questions were easy to answer. Others made Jake uncomfortable. Why do humans carry weapons even in peaceful times? Asked one alien. How did you develop nuclear power so quickly? After discovering electricity? Asked another. Your genetic structure is unusual. Have you modified yourselves? Asked a third. Dr. Grant did her best to explain human nature and history. She talked about wars and peace, about art and science. But Jake could see that some of the aliens looked worried. During a break, Dr. Vorthen approached them privately. Captain Morrison, may I ask you something? Of course. Have humans ever found ruins on other worlds? Ancient buildings or artifacts that you could not explain? Jake shook his head. No, Earth is the only world we've explored, and we know our own history pretty well. Dr. Vorthen's eyes glowed brighter. Interesting. Because I have found human genetic material on 17 different worlds. Material that is millions of years old. Dr. Grant laughed. That's impossible. You must be mistaken. I am never mistaken. About genetics, Dr. Vorthen said quietly. I have samples in my laboratory. Would you like to see them? Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What exactly are you saying? I am saying that either your species is much older than you believe, or someone who looks exactly like humans has been traveling the galaxy for a very long time. The lizard alien walked away, leaving Jake and Dr. Grant staring at each other. He's wrong, Dr. Grant whispered. He has to be wrong. But deep in his chest, Jake felt a strange feeling, like he was remembering something he had never learned. Something about stars and long journeys and a terrible choice that had to be made. He shook his head and tried to focus on the present. They were here to join the Federation, not to solve ancient mysteries. But as the day went on, Jake noticed more and more aliens staring at them with strange expressions, like they were seeing ghosts. When the meetings ended, Zeftal walked them back to their ship. The council will discuss your application. It may take some time. How long? Jake asked. As long as it takes to understand what you really are, Zeftal said. Then the aliens stopped walking. Captain Morrison, may I give you some advice? Sure. Be very careful who you trust. And be prepared for the possibility that everything you think you know about your people might be wrong. That night, Jake lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. Outside his small window, the lights of Nexus Prime twinkled like stars. But all he could think about were Dr. Vorthen's words. Human genetic material. Millions of years old. On 17 different worlds dotted. Was impossible. It had to be impossible. But if it was true, then who were humans really? And why didn't they remember?